Hi everyone, good evening. It's about 6 p.m. WAT West African time. Thank you all for joining us. How many of you were part of this session last week where we spoke to Adekunle? It was very, very interesting. And first of all, what's the session about? This is the Soaring series, which Ingressive Capital is running in conjunction with the Spark Magazine of Business Day and LSETF. And basically what we are doing is to shine the light of hope on entrepreneurs and tell them that there is something to look forward to post-COVID. And our speaker is here. We're trying to invite her in. What we're trying to do is tell entrepreneurs and show entrepreneurs that there's hope post-COVID, because we know. Hi, Moyo.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you for agreeing to join this session. We're really happy to have you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get straight to the point. Can you tell us who Moyo is? You have a long CV. I don't think I can do it myself. So tell us who Moyo is.
Can you imagine? I will tell you who Moyo is, but my light stuff happens when you go live. Honestly, my light just went off.
No, that's fine. We can see you.
Okay, it's back up again. Okay. So who's Moyo? Moyo is a real estate. Oh my God. I'm a real estate entrepreneur, developer, designer at heart. And yeah, so that's who I am. I'm real estate at the core. At the fringe, I'm a whole range of other things, but I'm a real estate developer at the core.
Okay. Well, let's go back. What exactly took you into real estate, developing and all that? Because typically that's a man's world. People have that misconception that is a man's world. So what got you in that line?
Okay. I wanted to be, I really didn't know what I wanted to be growing up, but somehow I just knew I was creative. I knew I was good with numbers, but I knew I wasn't the artist and I wasn't the accountant. So I sort of needed something that was like a creative pursuit that still had to do with creating value in monetary value somehow, and project managing things. And so somehow I fell into architecture as opposed to being an accountant, as opposed to being an artist. The middle ground for me was architecture. And from architecture, I realized I didn't like the details of it. I liked putting things and people together to get things done. So that's why I said, let me move away from pure architecture to real estate development, which is like bringing all the different teams together and stakeholders, owners, money people to get things done. Yeah, that's why I ended up in real estate.
and how have you? So it's one thing to decide to go into a particular industry. It's another thing to go into an industry that is heavily competitive, right? How have you managed competition
in real estate?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not the type of person that really looks at competition. I really believe as an entrepreneur, you really have to chart your own course. I believe as an individual, I have a plan. God has a plan for me. And as a business, we have a plan. And we go, we look at what competitors are doing, but we do not model ourselves after our competitors. We really chart a course based on what we know is best for our company as a real estate development company. And we look at what we have comparative advantage with as well. As what we have on our side is that we're really good with commercial properties. We're really good. We have a huge land bank as well. So, and then we have access to certain networks. So that has helped us. We've leveraged on those things, assets, and those advantages we've had. And because we've leveraged on those advantages we've had, we've played in a certain niche. But again, the economy is changing, so we're finding that we have to move from where our comparative advantage was to where to another market, to follow the market. And yes, we've looked at competition, but we are charting our course in our own unique way.
So you already know what you're trying to achieve, and you're building your business around that. But since we just spoke about competition, what of collaborations? What are your views on collaborating with people?
I mean, real estate is, if you do need collaborations are really important. You need to collaborate. You can collaborate across the different value chain. In terms of like collaborations, in terms of like ownership of the assets, in terms of collaborating with other developers who have different skill sets that you don't have, collaborating also with with government, because it's an industry that really needs a lot of capital. So you don't collaborate with your, but you partner, or you partner with your financiers. You partner with them. You hope you do. You hope they partner with they see you as partners, but they give you the best favorable rates, and they believe in your projects
Yeah.
to join your
Yeah.
venture.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that a lot of entrepreneurs talk about. That's the government. People have this feeling like the government doesn't really care, that or the policymakers are not necessarily interested in growth of your business. They just want to earn the government money. Well, what's your thoughts on navigating these climbs with how government puts out policies around businesses?
Uh, wow. Okay, let me, I think someone asked a comment and made a comment that we should relate, we should pin this topic on something.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing that now.
Okay. And as it relates to our industry, what we really want is really about land, land ownership and land titles, and, and working with government to ensure that our land titles are, we receive them in time, and they're clear on no hindrances, we don't have issues with, I know we have in Nigeria a lot of issues with we have what would you call them, family old family titles. So it's really important for government to support developers to ensure that our titles don't have encumbrances with former landowners, family owners, and they settle those issues promptly, because it really causes a lot of delay. We have a few projects that is hindering our, our ability to move ahead. But apart from that, just things are getting more clearer in Lagos in terms of how quickly we get our permits, as long as you follow the regulations, which we do as much as possible to ensure we follow the regulation. The government really, they work with us in that regard. It's really it's really grown. I remember when I first started working in Nigeria, like that was 15 years ago, and it was such a different, different rules, regulations, permits came out. But now things are very standard, a lot more standardized, and you just have to work within that framework and work with them to, because they're really out to make sure there's, health and safety, and standardize the whole landscape.
And I like what you said around standardization. When you run your business, how important is it to people say build local, think global. How important is it to have that kind of mindset, building things to standard from the scratch?
Okay, I will take that. That question is very wide, because we're talking, I mean, about. Okay, should I relate it to like now?
Please.
Okay, in this COVID era, lockdown era, that question is very relevant for the different sectors. Building locally, because the declining value of the naira, we have no choice but to look at local or local products, using local products, because imported products are just extremely high. So that's meant that as developers, we've had to think about how we'll use local products to the best, in the best way to give us the best output. So we have to, we have no choice now. We have to think local. And also thinking local means we also have to, I wouldn't say, we also have to be more innovative. Every sector has to be more innovative now. The residential market will have to be more innovative, because the cost of the land, the demand is the revenue. The customers just don't have the income to pay as much. So they'll demand a lot more value from in the same amount of money, you know, used to develop. They'll demand a lot more from you. So we've had to do, so in that regard, you have to think local. You just have to be more out of the box, innovative with the way you plan, you design, you know, going forward, because of the era we're in, which is a forced recession of some sort, has affected all sectors of our industry, from residential to the commercial. All the sectors are affected.
Okay. Since the topic is stepping up to challenges, can you tell us, it's a two-part question. One, what a time that you felt that it was done, you were not going to continue again, you just wanted to pack your load and go back to wherever you came from, and what's your biggest how have you survived, or how have you battled your biggest challenge? So it's a two-part question. One time where you thought it was over and you just wanted to, you know, pack up and go, and how you managed to handle it.
Okay, in real estate development.
Yeah.
Wow. There are many times in real estate development where you want to pack up and go. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for the weak. You have to be really, you know, because there's so many moving parts over a long period of time. So that's a recipe for stress. You know, it's like taking a piece of metal and putting it on a furnace over like a long period of time. That is what real estate development is. Because at the end of the day, you have this really beautiful piece of metal, but it's been refined. And what, you know, I've had to do was have to have an internal resilience. You know, it's almost like you just really have to be resolute, you know, because when the pressure comes, for, you know, a whole range of things can happen. I mean, I've had situations where, for whatever reason, this was like years ago, a project was closed down by government. And at the end of the day, we found out there was nothing per se about it. It was more like internal wranglings. But we had so much at stake, because all the stakeholders, contractors, everybody was on ground, and they were like working and ground to a halt. You have invested so much. So at that point in time, having an internal conviction that, look, what we're doing is right. We know what we're doing, it's right. So step back, let's evaluate the situation. What are the best ways to come out of this? You know, you really have to step back, strategize. What are the best scenarios, ways to come out? 2, 3, 4, 3 scenarios, fine. Make a decision, go for one. One doesn't work, go for 2. 2 doesn't work, go for 3. 4, 10. You just have to have internal resilience. It's just important as an entrepreneur that you keep on going. No is not an option. No is just not an option. Just, I don't know the word. No, no. Yes.
Thank you for that. I also believe that having that resilience and, you know, can-do spirit, you know, they've told me, no, I'm going to wake up and go at it again. Yeah. It's really important, especially in these times where things are not the way they ought to be. So how do you manage business and, you know, life? So work-life balance.
Wow, work-life balance. How do I manage it? You know, you're speaking in, what I call it, relative post-lockdown or still hybrid lockdown moment. And there's been a lot of changes. And I think the most important thing is realizing that change will always happen. There will always be, you know, and accepting change. And by accepting change, being able to realize that's helped me in this period, and always, even beyond this period, but it's always helped me to know, you know what, changes can happen at home, changes can happen in the office. How do we manage those changes? And having a backup for a backup of a backup of backup is very important, you know, so that you just try and put yourself in a situation where you're never stranded. I'm not saying it will never happen, but just accepting that change will happen. Perfection will not be the case. And how do you ensure that when you have to, you know, juggle those balls and the change happens, you have something in place and you're able to attack what you, or, you know, deal with the situation at hand, be it home, be it business, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody put a comment up there. Weekends are for family, and there's a
Are
reason I
they?
asked this. There's a reason I asked this question because as entrepreneurs, you know, you can fall into that daily motion of always working and working and working. Especially during this lockdown period, people are calling you at odd times to ask for
Yeah.
information and
Yeah.
all. So you know, being able to segment your work and your life so that you live a healthy life at the end of the day, really.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, okay, sorry.
yeah,
You asked.
you're going to say something. Go on.
Yeah, weekends are for family, but I find myself loving what I do to such
Mhm.
an extent that I don't put a fine line per se, you know, to weekends being strictly for family. Because the higher you go in entrepreneurship, there's some responsibilities. You can't switch off your phone
Mm.
because it's a weekend.
Yeah.
There's too much at stake. You can't switch off your phone. You just have to know that when those situations happen that require you during the weekend, you give it your time, but then you pull back and you go back to family. But I can't, you know, I think being strict as an entrepreneur to say weekends are for family, I find it's really, really tough, you know, to say that. I believe weekends all throughout the time, you just have to have an internal gauge that tells you, to emotionally tell you, you know, your family needs you. Of course, my time with my family is very important. You know, I've created a routine. I try and get home by like 6 as much as possible, at least most times during the week. If I can't, I wake up, you know, and I'm not able to see their work or meet with them. I wake up earlier in the morning to make sure I meet them before they leave. So there's a lot of like augmenting, you know, if you miss this time, you put it somewhere else, and then, you know, you just have flexibility is the name of the game for me. I'm not rigid about this.
Yeah, true. Being flexible with your life and work is really, really,
Yes,
really
if not, you
important.
break.
Yeah, I mean, and you're important. If you break down, the business is most likely going to suffer. Um, yeah, even though people say put structures in place so that the business can survive without you, but they will feel that you're not there. So
Yeah.
tell us about your real estate company. We haven't really talked about your company. So tell us about your real estate company.
Okay. Uraga Real Estate is the real estate arm of Honeywell Group Limited, and what we are passionate about is really developing communities. You know, creating spaces for communities, and you can have communities, residential communities, commercial communities, and just spaces where they'll thrive, and, you know, will add value to them, and they'll feel like always coming back to. Um, that's what we're really about. We've worked in all those different sectors. Worked in commercials, we worked in residential, and in commercial, with some of our projects being the hotel projects we've done, the Radisson we've done in Victoria Island, in Upbeat, we've done Upbeat in Lekki, we've done a lot of our residential projects are based in Abuja, in Mitama, Tako, Asokoro, and we're doing some residential now in the middle income markets in Ekpe, Lekki, by the Lagos Business School. We have 88 units we're deploying. And we have also a mid-income to high income in Osborne as well, some units which we're selling as well. So that's what we do. We create spaces, we transform spaces, and for communities, it's something we're passionate about. I love it. I love what I do. I just love it.
Yeah, we can see
I
that.
really I
We
do,
can see the
because
way you're passionately speaking about it.
yeah, because, you know, if you don't love what you do, it's just a waste of time. Because then you would have those cut-offs, those cut-offs, and you wouldn't be able to last long. I love it. I believe anything one does you should do it with passion, and because if you do it with passion, you do it with a conviction, and it will, so that when the hitches come and the problems come, which they will, you will be able to weather the storms, because they will come. But the passion drives you and motivates you through those situations.
Yeah. So you've spoken about so many projects that you've had to manage and build. A big problem with Nigerian businesses is, you know, attracting the right talent, and not just attracting, managing them. How have you been able to do this with your business?
Oh, wow. I was thinking about this over this COVID period, and I read someone wrote something, and I was like, that's exactly it. That what are your biggest concerns for in your business at the moment? And they said it like this: it's like employee safety and employee productivity. Honestly, those are one of my biggest concerns. When I say employee safety, we know what's going on now.
Yeah.
It's important that everyone is safe, and but employee productivity is also very, very important at the same time, because we still have a business to run, and we have to do what we have to do. So, and I feel so blessed that it's taken some time. When the last you know 2 years we've been able to build a team that they understand these. When I explain these two things, they understand where I'm coming from. That yes, I'm concerned about safety. Productivity is important. They understand the values of the company. They share our passion. They share our values. And you find that people that don't necessarily share the values and the passion, along this period, it becomes quite clear that you can't work with them. They can't work with you. It fizzles out. And being decisive enough to make a decision and say, it's time. It's really time. So team that share our passion, share our values, share our concerns, that we can't sleep at night because we understand that work has not been done. It's just been amazing. I've been so fortunate, blessed to have team members that understand that and share it and understand it's a collective goal for us to succeed. And that's how we worked together.
Yeah. And in this period, a lot of people have had to fire staff, right? Because they're beginning to see that productivity is more than spending 10 hours in the office. It's about the results. What is your advice on firing people? Because I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs and they struggle with how to fire, because they don't want to leave a bad impression. Sometimes they're being empathetic. What's the best way to let go of staff?
I actually had to do that this week in another small business I'm associated with.
Yeah.
And someone said, oh no, get someone else to do it. I'm not a believer in that. Leadership is about taking tough decisions. If it's easy for me to bring someone on board, it must be easy for me. It must be the same conviction I bring someone on board, must be the same conviction I take someone off. And I owe it to them. I owe it to their growth. I owe it to my growth, because, asking people to leave, it's not an easy decision for anybody. And there might be things that we might have done or they might have done that we need to have feedback on to say, where could we get better? But it's something that, if you have a conviction, it's really important that you should take responsibility. And if you have to let someone go, you don't pass it on to, especially when you've had a close relationship or you've worked directly with that person. It's leadership to take that decision and actually ask the person to leave, yourself. I think you can't pass the buck to someone else. It's really unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's poor behavior, I think. It's very it's poor, it's weak. It's weak. It's really weak, in my opinion. Unless if you feel they will stab you, make sure that you have something on the side. But it should never come to that. But the important thing is you really need to take responsibility. It's part of leadership.
And we always tell entrepreneurs that they are leaders. So the minute you decided to start your business, you decided to be a leader, and leaders take tough decisions. You can't run away from it.
You cannot run away.
Now that we've talked about firing, let's just step back a bit and talk about hiring. How do you ensure that the people you hire imbibe your values? Because you mentioned values earlier. How do you ensure that they imbibe your values? Because I think if your staff buy into the values that you have, they will work better.
Yeah. So how do we make sure they imbibe values? There's several screening processes we have. What we do now is we have a really good, strong HR, and we also have our team members. I always make sure our team members are involved in hiring before it gets to me or someone else on my level. So there'll be like two 2 levels, and because they know the organization so well, they'll be like, before it even crosses the first hurdle, like, no, this won't work. You know, I've seen many situations where, you know, I'm texting them, how did the interview go? They're like, no, sorry, it won't work. And they are, you know, I'm bringing everyone as part of the collective because they already imbibe the value. They know who they can work with. They know who has the Uraga, you know, spirit, Uraga values. And so it's just quite easy for them to filter. And with HR, and then we have, you know, as I said, we have certain criteria, we have value systems and stuff, KPIs and things that they need to meet, you know.
Yeah, okay, awesome. If you have questions for the listeners, please just drop your questions in the comment section or use the question feature so that we can answer them. I was going to ask you a question, just slipped my mind. Yes, now we are in the post-COVID era where there is a lot of work from anywhere, work from home, and office work is becoming very decentralized, right?
Yes.
What is your advice on managing your staff? Because that's going to be a big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs this period.
Yeah, it's something we're working through. We're actively working through. One of the key things we set up our man hours, people clocking in. We're working actively to ensure that people clock in the hours they do, and with clear deliverables as well. You know, for us it's a bit harder because our work is not just desktop. We have to go to construction sites, and the things that happen there really impact our own output as well. So we do our best to just, you know, ensure that our deliverables match the man hours more or less that we have put in. We keep on watching it, you know, to look at how we can adjust that, maybe looking at a fixed component versus with a bit of a variable component. It's early days into that, but essentially we look at man hours versus deliverables, and, you know, team members and supervisors literally, you know, ensuring that there's accountability across board, and then ensuring that, you know, by engaging on a weekly, daily basis where it's needed, and ensuring like, are we delivering when we stated we will deliver, and that's how we've been doing it.
Yeah, and you know, the thing you said about deliverables is very important. I mean, people that they say they need, for example, they need a social media manager. And then I ask you, okay, what exactly is this person going to be doing for you? And they're just blank. They don't know what the role is all about. They just assume that, okay, social media manager will manage social media, right? And so when they want to measure performance, there's confusion. So it's important that entrepreneurs know, you know, have deliverables for whoever they're employing and know how they can measure. I mean, because what you don't measure doesn't grow, really.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean,
so let me check if there are questions here. There's a question that says, what kind of infrastructure do you think businesses need to function virtually and digitally?
That's like extremely important now. The first thing is video conferencing, especially given, you know, virtually, you need to get a robust one. And we've tried a couple, but we're working with Teams, Microsoft Teams, and it's really awesome because it's safe, it's secure. Zoom, I mean, we didn't feel it was secure as a company to use that, but Teams that's just been really, really good. Great stable internet access has been really important for our team, you know. Of course, hoping that everyone has power as well. We have to, the reality is we live in Nigeria, and not everyone has access to power. So just, you know, Teams has been really good because we can share software, documents, we can share timelines, we can share. It's such a good platform to be involved in because the whole ecosystem has enough for everyone. So that's really been one of the important key things, platforms we've used to work virtually in this.
I thought you were going to mention WhatsApp because I remember speaking to you months back where you said you use WhatsApp a lot.
Okay, let me explain how I use WhatsApp. I have many passions, and I can use that to connect the dots, you know. But when it comes enterprise, my real estate development on WhatsApp, I have WhatsApp groups for everything. That's good. So I make, you know, I coming for the meeting. Yes. We do. I connect on WhatsApp. I love WhatsApp. But when it comes to having those meetings, unfortunately,
Mm.
WhatsApp is not able to, to
Yeah,
hold.
I understand.
We have meetings. I mean, Mondays, I call Mondays crazy Mondays. From 10 o'clock till 5:30, I have meetings. Yesterday, we have meetings, one after the other, after, I'm sure my team members here, they understand what I'm saying. One after the other, we have meetings. And WhatsApp can't cope.
Yeah.
But Microsoft Teams can cope.
Yeah.
But
So the
WhatsApp,
reason I mentioned WhatsApp is not everybody has the luxury to have top-notch tech tools. And I believe that finding a way to efficiently use the tools available to you is very important. And that's why I mentioned WhatsApp anyways.
oh, yeah,
Uh,
no, I understand. But when we're talking about real estate development on
yeah.
that level, to link the teams, to ensure you're there on time, or something's about to drop. Okay, I connect that. Yeah. You're not, you the meeting's about to start.
Mm-hmm.
Get on, but back-to-back meetings. So one of my team members saying back-to-back meetings. Yes, we do it, but only on Mondays. Only on Mondays. After that, you go out and you do your thing.
What are your tips for managing effective meetings? Because I've
Oh, I
worked with
love this.
corporates where we spend the whole day at the meeting, and to be honest, we feel like we didn't achieve anything. So, what are your
Wow.
tips for effective meetings?
I mean, you see, I'll tell you the basic, the key tips, for that. I love this part of it. But in the first place, I've realized that when you have people that are not good at their job, you spend so much time in meetings. So in the first place, you make sure you have the right team members, right people doing their job. Because when you have the right people doing their jobs, they're effective, straight to the point, and meetings that could be 4 hours end up being 1 hour, because first of all, you have the right person doing the job. One, very important. Now, after that's done, agenda. We need to have an agenda. Every meeting must have an agenda. It's a waste of time to have meetings without a clear agendas. My team members, I was like, but I can't, even small meetings are not necessarily official. I really can't put my mind around not having an agenda for anything. It's like a waste of my time or your time. I mean, let's get straight to the point. What are we talking about? 4 points, 3 things. Yeah, bullet points. Okay, let's start. This done. Check, check, out, over. So effective people, agendas, timekeeping, very important. Keeping it short and succinct is really important. Making sure everyone, and it comes with experience. Again, the more meetings you've had, the more you learn how to summarize your thoughts and everything concisely. And what are my other tips for clear meetings? Yeah, I've talked about timekeeping, agendas. Yeah, and I mean, I have this thing. People, my office, they know this. Good minutes. You need to have good minutes, man. You need, because those minutes, like, they are so important, because they track you're able to track what was achieved between now and then. And it's a waste of anyone's time if we're saying the same thing over and over again. So yeah, the right person on the job, agendas, timekeeping, good minutes, and we're good to go.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. I did tell you, but I planned this conversation to be 30 minutes because I know you're busy. Yeah. But in rounding up, what would be your advice let's make the advice two. One, to people that are thinking of going into the real estate industry, and two, to entrepreneurs generally that are thinking about starting a business.
Okay, for going into the real estate space, one of my first advice is, you need to decide which sector you want to play in, because it's so wide. It is, it is really, really wide. You need to decide which sector. Do you want to play in the commercial space? Even in that space, it's wide. Or in the residential, it's wide. Is it like grade A, grade B, C? You really need to decide where you want to play in. And another thing is, once you decide where you want to play in, I said it earlier, you need to know where your comparative advantage lies. You can't just say, oh, I want to do mass housing, yet your business and your mindset is not, can't do mass housing. Because for mass housing, you really need to be able to build at but yet your mindset is just not able to get all the resources at that, and your and your experience is not able to get the resources at that price. So it's really important to understand where you want to play and the comparative advantages you have, so that when you start in that sector, you're able to at least have a bit of a lift up. And of course, passion. You don't go into real estate if you don't have a passion, because you'll be tired and bruised, very bruised. It's really tasking, it's really tasking. Whatever part of the value chain you want to play in, you really need to have a passion for it. And once you have a passion for it, you definitely, you will thrive. I believe, whatever you put your mind to, you can really achieve.
Yeah. So your advice to entrepreneurs generally that are looking to start a business during this period?
My advice is, you really have to, I ended it by saying, like, if you want it, you can have it. That's my own. I really believe that we can have everything we say we want. I'm a strong believer. That's the faith. That's my faith. That's my belief in God. And I believe that if you say, this is where I want to play, that's the first thing. Passion, conviction, number one. After you have the passion and the conviction for that, the second thing is, it seems almost like I'm saying the same thing. Like, once you're sure that you have the passion for it, where your mind, your mind will start to go around and say, okay, which part do I want to play in? What advantages do I have? And all the right resources that I have for whatever business I want to play. If it's bakery, for instance, and you say you want to start bakery now because you have the skills, you have the assets, you might, the skill might not even be in your hand, but someone who has the ability you can leverage on to do the baking. You have the leverage of the transportation to deliver. So it's really about what you want to achieve, what you have in your mind, and you go for it, you plan, and you execute. That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I'm sure everybody listening actually gained something from what you said.
Yes, thank you.
Everybody follow her, Moyo Ogunseinde and Uraga Real Estate. Did I pronounce it well?
Yes, Uraga.
All right. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Take care. Bye.
Thank you to everyone that joined this session today. As we've heard, you have to have passion. You have to, learn to plan your business and everything thoroughly. We talked about, having effective meetings, hiring, firing. And I hope that everything we've shared today will help you surmount the challenges that come with this period that we have found ourselves in. So thank you once more, and see you again next week. Bye.